We hear it, don't we? A whisper beneath the noise of our lives, a sound like a distant caravan we believe is only for the saints, the perfected ones. But what if that is the great lie? What if the call was never for the perfect, but only for the willing? This is the secret of the path Rumi forged in fire, a journey for the wanderer, the lover of leaving. If you feel that pull, that same ancient homesickness in your own heart, let us know you are listening by liking this video, a small signal that you hear the whisper too. This is just the first stop on a profound and beautiful road. So to join our caravan of seekers and walk this path with us, make sure you subscribe to the channel. The journey ahead is vast, and you won't want to travel it alone. This is the secret of the path that the 13th century mystic Jalal al-Din Rumi did not just write about, but became. His poetry is not a collection of beautiful words. It is a map drawn in fire for a journey that begins not when we are worthy, but when we finally admit that we are not. It is a journey for the wanderer, the lover of leaving, the one who has broken their vows 1,000 times. Rumi's voice reaches across the centuries not to praise the pious, but to gather the scattered, the bewildered, the heartsick. He calls to the part of us that feels exiled, the part that stands at the window late at night, staring at the moon and feeling a homesickness for a place we have never been. His caravan, you see, is not a procession of the enlightened. It is a rescue mission. It is a gathering of the thirsty in the middle of the desert, and the only requirement for joining is to know that you are dying of thirst. Forget your maps, your doctrines, your carefully constructed ideas of the divine. The journey we are about to embark on does not happen on paper. It happens in the soul. It is the story of how the wound becomes the door, how getting lost is the only way to be found, and how the caravan of love has been waiting for you, and only you, this entire time. Listen, can you hear it now? The sound of the reed flute crying its song of separation. That is the sound of your own heart calling you home. The journey does not begin with a grand vision or a flash of celestial light. It begins with a quiet ache, a splinter in the heart that the world cannot remove. We walk through our days, and everything is as it should be. The sun rises, the bread is baked, the coins are counted. But there is a hollowness, a sense that we are living on the surface of a great and silent ocean, and we have forgotten how to swim. We are exiles, though we cannot name the kingdom from which we were banished. This is the first station on the path, the place of longing. Rumi knew this landscape intimately. He called it the pain of separation. Like the reed torn from the reed bed, our soul weeps with a memory of its origin, a memory of a unity it can no longer name but can never forget. His poetry is the articulation of this sacred sorrow. Listen to the story told by the reed of being separated, he writes, and in that single line, he gives voice to the secret grief of all humanity. We try to fill this emptiness with everything the world offers, with possessions, with ambitions, with the love of others. But these are sips of water that only make the thirst more profound. The longing is not for something we can acquire. It is a longing to return, to dissolve, to go home. It is a gravitational pull from a center we have long forgotten. This feeling, which our busy world teaches us to medicate, to ignore, to distract ourselves from, is, in Rumi's vision, the most holy thing about us. It is the homing signal of the soul. It is the engine of the spiritual journey. Without this divine discontent, no one would ever set out. The caravan would never leave the city gates. So we are invited not to cure this ache, but to honor it, to sit with it, to let it carve us out and make us hollow, for only a hollow reed can be filled with the breath of the divine. We are asked to see our own restlessness, not as a flaw, but as a compass needle, trembling, but always pointing in the direction of the beloved. The world says, be happy, be satisfied. Rumi whispers, stay thirsty, my friend. Your thirst is your prayer. It is the thread that will pull you back to the ocean. And so we begin to listen more to the silence than to the noise, more to the ache than to the entertainment. We are turning our ear toward the desert, listening for the faint sound of bells, the murmur of a journey we were born to make. Before the first step, there is the devastating realization that we are already in the desert. The world we thought was a lush garden is revealed to be a landscape of mirages. Its promises of lasting fulfillment turn to sand in our hands. This is not a moment of despair, but of profound clarity. It is the moment we understand that the path to the real is not an escape from the desert, but a journey deeper into it. We must learn to navigate by the stars of our own inner sky, not by the fading landmarks of conventional wisdom. Rumi's poetry becomes our guide in this disorienting new territory. He tells us that this confusion, this feeling of being utterly lost, is a sign that the journey is truly beginning. What you seek is seeking you, he assures us. This single idea reorients the entire universe. The search is not a one-way street. We are not lonely pilgrims searching for a distant, indifferent God. We are lovers being drawn toward a beloved who is actively, passionately seeking our return. The journey is a cosmic dance of mutual attraction. With this knowledge, the emptiness of the desert transforms. It is no longer a void to be feared, but a space to be filled. It is the silence into which the beloved's voice can finally be heard. The rules of the old world fall away. Logic, reason, the careful calculations of the mind, these are poor guides in the land of the soul. Here, the heart is the only reliable compass. The intellect is powerless in the expression of love, Rumi warns. Love alone is capable of revealing the truth of love and being a lover. We are asked to make a radical shift in allegiance from the head to the heart. This feels like madness. It feels like stepping off a cliff. But the caravan is made of those who have taken that leap. They are the ones who have traded the illusion of certainty for the reality of mystery. They have learned that the only way to cross the desert of the self is to surrender. Surrender the need to know, the need to control, the need to arrive. The destination is not a place on a map. The destination is a state of being. And so we take the first real step. We stop trying to find our way and allow ourselves to be found. We embrace the holy state of bewilderment. We become pilgrims of the unknown, trusting that the same force that planted this longing in our hearts also knows the way home. The desert wind whispers a secret. Lose your way, lover. It is the only way to find me. The caravan does not travel on a paved road. Its path is marked by fire. Once we have committed to the journey, once we have stepped into the desert of unknowing, we encounter the crucible. This is the stage of transformation, the burning away of all that is false. Rumi speaks of this not with fear, but with a kind of fierce joy. Love is the fire, he says. When it is kindled, it burns everything except the beloved. What is it that burns? It is the ego, the small self, the carefully constructed identity we have spent a lifetime polishing and defending. It is our pride, our fears, our certainties, our grievances. It is everything we think we are. The fire of love is a solvent that dissolves this false self, and the process is painful. It feels like dying, because a part of us is dying, the part of us that thrives on separation, on being special, on being right. The spiritual path is not an accumulation of virtues or knowledge. It is a process of subtraction, of unlearning, of becoming naked. Your task is not to seek for love, Rumi reminds us, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it. The challenges of the journey, the hardships of the desert, the moments of doubt and despair, these are not obstacles. They are the fire itself. They are the tools the beloved uses to break our hearts open. For Rumi, a broken heart is not a tragedy. It is an opportunity. The wound is the place where the light enters you, he teaches. The world encourages us to build walls around our hearts to protect them from being broken. The path of love demands that we tear them down. It asks for a radical vulnerability. It asks that we welcome the shattering, because it is in the cracks of our brokenness that the divine can finally take root. We are like raw chickpeas in a pot, being tossed and turned in boiling water. We cry out, "Why are you doing this to me?" The cook replies, "I am not torturing you. I am cooking you, making you delicious and digestible so you can mix with the life-giving soul." This is the purpose of the fire. It is not to destroy us, but to make us ready for union. It is to burn away our rawness so that we can become nourishment for the beloved. And so we learn to welcome the flames. We stop running from the pain and turn to face it, knowing it is the heat of the divine blacksmith, reshaping us, tempering us, preparing us for the great embrace that awaits. As the fires of transformation do their work, burning away the dross of the false self, the nature of our perception begins to change. The world, which once seemed solid and separate, starts to shimmer with a hidden light. We begin to see the face of the beloved everywhere, reflected in the mirror of creation. The flight of a bird, the unfolding of a flower, the kindness in a stranger's eyes, these are no longer random events. They are messages, love letters from the divine. Rumi's poetry is a masterclass in this new way of seeing. He teaches us to find the sacred not by escaping the world, but by looking at it with the eyes of a lover. The universe is not outside of you, he states. Look inside yourself. Everything that you want, you are already that. This is a profound shift from a model of seeking to a model of recognition. The treasure we were searching for in distant lands has been buried in our own backyard this whole time. This realization brings with it a new kind of intoxication, a spiritual drunkenness that has nothing to do with wine made from grapes. When Rumi speaks of wine and the tavern, he is using a powerful metaphor for the ecstatic state of divine union. The tavern is the inner sanctuary, the heart space where the seeker casts off the dry, rigid rules of formal religion and drinks directly from the source of love. The wine is the love itself, the gnosis, the direct experiential knowledge of God that bypasses the intellect and floods the soul with joy. In this sacred tavern, there are no hierarchies, no judgments. Come, come, whoever you are, goes his famous invitation. Wanderer, worshipper, lover of leaving. It doesn't matter. Ours is not a caravan of despair. Come, even if you have broken your vow 1,000 times. Come, yet again, come, come. This is the radical inclusivity of the path of love. It is open to the sinner, the skeptic, the brokenhearted. In the tavern of love, sincerity is the only currency. The pious fraud who worships for show is turned away, while the weeping sinner who comes with a broken and open heart is welcomed as an honored guest. We learn that true sobriety is not the absence of intoxication, but the state of being constantly, deliriously drunk on the presence of the beloved. Life itself becomes a prayer, every breath a sip of sacred wine. The world is no longer a desert to be crossed, but a garden to be explored, a garden where every leaf and every stone whispers the name of the one we love. The journey inward leads to a place of profound stillness, a silent chamber at the center of the soul. Here, in this inner sanctum, the frantic seeking comes to an end. The lover, who has been searching for the beloved everywhere, finally realizes the truth of Rumi's words, "I have been looking for myself." The separation was an illusion, a dream from which we are now awakening. The beloved was never somewhere else. The beloved is the very essence of our own being. The drop of water, after its long journey through clouds and rivers and deserts, finally merges back into the ocean, and in that moment, it realizes it was never anything but ocean. This is the state of union, or tahud, the central goal of the Sufi path. It is not the acquisition of something new, but the remembrance of something ancient. It is the dissolution of the ego self, the I that feels separate and alone, into the infinite, all-encompassing reality of the One. This is a state beyond words. Language, which is built on duality and separation, cannot describe it. Silence is the language of God, Rumi tells us. All else is poor translation. This is why his poetry often points beyond itself, towards a truth that can only be experienced, not explained. When the lover finds the beloved within, the need for external forms of worship falls away. The heart itself becomes the mosque, the temple, the sacred space. Every breath becomes a prayer, every heartbeat a drum, calling the faithful to remembrance. The world is not rejected, but it is seen in its proper perspective as a beautiful, shimmering mirage, a dance of forms emanating from a single, formless source. There is no longer a need to go on pilgrimage to a distant holy land, for the entire universe is revealed to be a holy land. Every place is the center of the world. Every moment is the right moment. The lover who has found this inner union becomes a source of peace and light in the world. They do not preach or try to convert others. Their very presence becomes a testament to the reality of love. They are a still point in the turning world, a quiet harbor in a stormy sea. They have arrived home, and they realize that home was never a place to get to, but a reality to awaken to, a reality that was here, within us, all along. With the realization of union, a great paradox unfolds. The seeker who has journeyed so far to lose themselves finds themselves more fully than ever before. But this new self is not the small, fearful ego of the past. It is a self that is vast, boundless, and intimately connected to all of life. Having dissolved into the ocean, the drop now looks out at the world through the eyes of the ocean. This is the station of Baka, or abiding in God. It is the return journey, where the mystic, having found the inner kingdom, learns to live in the ordinary world again, but in an extraordinary way. Rumi himself embodied this. After his transformative encounter with Shams of Tabriz, he did not retreat into a cave. He became a fountain of creativity, pouring out thousands of verses of poetry, teaching his students and engaging with the life of his community. He had found the infinite within, and his life became an expression of that infinity. The one who has completed this journey no longer sees a separation between the sacred and the profane. Washing the dishes, walking to the market, speaking with a neighbor, these simple acts become forms of worship, opportunities to express the love that now animates their being. They are in the world, but not of it. They can play the game of life, but they know it is a game, a divine play, a lila. This brings a sense of freedom and lightness. The anxieties and ambitions that once drove them seem distant and dreamlike. Their primary work is now simply to be a clear channel for love to flow into the world. They become, in Rumi's words, a window through which the sun can shine. They understand that their individual life is a unique note in a cosmic symphony, and their only task is to play that note as beautifully and as truthfully as possible. They are no longer defined by their past mistakes or their future hopes. They live fully in the eternal now, the only place where reality truly exists. They have become the field Rumi spoke of, the field out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right-doing. It is a place of radical acceptance, of unconditional love, a place where judgment cannot survive. Here, in this field, they meet everyone and everything with compassion, seeing the same divine spark shining in every eye. The caravan has reached its destination, which was to realize it was never moving at all, but was always already in the heart of the beloved. And the journey begins anew with every breath. The greatest misconception about the spiritual path is that it is a vertical ascent, a climbing of a ladder from a lower state to a higher one. Rumi's vision shows us that it is not a ladder but a circle. It is a journey from the self to the self, through the self. We begin as a constricted, fearful ego, and through the process of longing, surrender, and transformation, we return to our true nature, which is vast, loving, and free. The end is a return to the beginning, but with new eyes. We come back to the same world, but we no longer see it as a place of exile. We see it as a manifestation of the beloved's beauty. This journey is not for a spiritual elite. The caravan, as the title of our exploration suggests, is not for the perfect. Perfection is a concept of the ego, a static, lifeless state. The soul is dynamic, a flowing river. The only qualification for this journey is willingness. The willingness to be broken. The willingness to be confused. The willingness to be consumed by a love that is larger than our understanding. Rumi's poetry is a testament to this fact. It is filled with images of ruin, of drunkenness, of madness. He champions the sincere sinner over the pious hypocrite. Why? Because the sinner, in their brokenness, has an opening. The hypocrite, in their self-righteous perfection, is a closed fortress. God cannot enter a space that is already full of itself. Therefore, our weaknesses, our failings, our heartbreaks, these are not impediments to the path. They are the path. Each stumble, each fall, is an opportunity to surrender more deeply, to let go of our own strength and rely on the grace of the Beloved. The Caravan is a fellowship of the imperfect, a gathering of souls who have had the courage to admit their own bankruptcy. They have given up the pretense of being in control. They have laid down their arms and have allowed themselves to be conquered by love. This is the great secret. The victory is not in winning, but in losing. The victory is in the sweet surrender of the self. So we are invited to bring our whole selves to this journey, not just the parts we are proud of. We bring our doubts, our fears, our messy, complicated hearts. We bring our past mistakes and our broken vows. The Caravan has room for all of it. It is a hospital for the soul, a place of healing, not a museum of saints. The door is open. The invitation has been issued. It does not ask if we are good. It asks only if we are willing. The language of Rumi is the language of paradox. He speaks of a wealth found in poverty, a knowledge found in unknowing, a victory found in defeat. To the rational mind, this is nonsense. To the heart, it is the deepest truth. The journey with the Caravan requires us to become comfortable with contradiction, to hold opposing ideas in a loving embrace until they reveal their underlying unity. One of the central paradoxes is that of the lover and the beloved. The entire journey is fueled by the lover's passionate, aching desire for a beloved who seems distant, separate, sometimes even cruel. The poetry is filled with the pain of this separation, and yet the ultimate realization is that the lover and the beloved are one. There was never any distance. How can this be? It is a mystery that cannot be solved by logic. It can only be experienced. It is like a wave that longs for the ocean, not realizing it is already made of ocean. The longing itself is the proof of the connection. The pain of separation is the flip side of the ecstasy of union. You cannot have one without the other. This is why Rumi does not offer a path that bypasses suffering. He shows us how to find the meaning within it. Another key paradox is that of freedom and surrender. We are called to surrender our will, our plans, our ego. This sounds like a loss of freedom, but Rumi shows us that it is the opposite. The ego, with its constant fears and desires, is the real prison. By surrendering to the divine will, which is the flow of love, we are freed from the tyranny of the small self. We become like a leaf on a river, no longer struggling against the current, but moving in graceful harmony with it. This is true freedom. It is the freedom to be our true selves, unburdened by the need to protect or promote a false image. We also find the paradox of silence and speech. Rumi was a master of words, his poetry a torrent of eloquence. And yet, he constantly points to the importance of silence. I have a huge treasury of speech inside me, he says, but I have sealed my lips and will not open them. The words are the finger pointing at the moon. The moon itself is the silent, direct experience of the divine. The poetry is a boat to carry us to the other shore. Once we arrive, we must leave the boat behind. The journey begins with listening to the words, but it ends in a state of pure, wordless listening, a communion with the silent music of existence. To travel with the Caravan is to live inside these paradoxes, to let them stretch our minds and break our hearts open, until we arrive at the still point where all opposites meet and are reconciled in the boundless mystery of love. As we journey deeper with the Caravan, we begin to notice that the landscape is not only external, but internal. The desert is our own mind, cluttered with the debris of old beliefs. The fire is our own heart, burning with a new and holy passion. And the figures we meet along the way are also aspects of ourselves. Rumi's poetry is populated with archetypes that represent the inner dynamics of the spiritual seeker. There is, of course, the lover, the ashik, Who is the seeker, the one consumed by longing? This is the part of us that is willing to abandon everything for the sake of the quest. The lover is often portrayed as mad, drunk, and heedless of social convention. This madness is not insanity, but a higher sanity, a state of being so aligned with the heart's truth that the world's rules no longer apply. Then there is the beloved, the ma'shuk. This is the ultimate object of the lover's desire. The beloved is God, the divine reality. But in the poetry, the beloved is described with intensely personal human terms. The beloved has a face, hair, lips. The beloved is beautiful, captivating, and often frustratingly elusive. This personification is not meant to reduce God to a human form, but to make the relationship with the divine intensely personal and passionate. It allows the seeker to engage with God not as an abstract principle, but as the ultimate love of their life. A key figure in the tavern is the cupbearer, or saki. The saki is the spiritual guide, the one who pours the wine of divine knowledge. The saki can be a human teacher, a piror or sheikh, or it can be a direct manifestation of the beloved's grace. The saki is the one who knows the path and who helps the seeker navigate its challenges. The relationship with the saki is one of absolute trust and submission. We must be willing to drink whatever wine the saki pours for us, whether it tastes sweet or bitter. And then there are the antagonists, the figures who represent the obstacles to the path. There is the stern preacher, the wa'is, who represents dry, dogmatic religion, a faith of rules without love. There is the hypocritical ascetic, the zahid, who makes a great show of piety, but whose heart is cold. And there is the cold, calculating intellect, the aqil, which is always trying to measure and define a reality that is immeasurable and indefinable. These are not just external figures. They are voices within our own minds that we must learn to recognize and transcend. The journey of the caravan is an inner psychodrama, a process of integrating these different parts of ourselves until the lover in us has completely overcome the preacher and the intellect and has surrendered completely to the guidance of the saki in order to finally unite with the beloved. The fuel of the caravan is courage, not the courage of a soldier who marches into battle, but a quieter, more profound courage. It is the courage to be vulnerable. It is the courage to live with an open heart in a world that is constantly trying to close it. Rumi's path is not for the faint of heart. It demands that we dismantle the fortresses we have built around ourselves. This is a terrifying prospect. The ego, our sense of a separate self, survives on defense mechanisms. It builds walls of pride, moats of cynicism, and towers of intellectual superiority. These defenses keep us safe, but they also keep us imprisoned. They keep love out. The journey requires that we systematically, stone by stone, tear down these walls. We must have the courage to feel our own pain without numbing it. We must have the courage to admit our own ignorance without pretending to have all the answers. We must have the courage to love without demanding love in return. This is the courage of the moth, which is so drawn to the flame that it flies directly into it, knowing it will be consumed. For the moth, this consumption is not death. It is the ultimate consummation of its love. It is liberation. Be a moth, Rumi advises. Burn yourself in the fire of love. This kind of courage is not about being fearless. It is about acting in spite of fear. It is about feeling the terror of letting go of control and doing it anyway. It is about trusting that if we leap, a net will appear. That net is the grace of the beloved. The path of love is a path of constant risk. We risk our reputation by appearing foolish to the world. We risk our emotional security by opening our hearts to being broken. We risk our intellectual certainty by entering the realm of mystery. But the reward for this risk is immeasurable. The reward is reality. It is the direct, unmediated experience of the divine love that is the very fabric of existence. The caravan moves forward only because its travelers have found this courage. They are a procession of the brave, the ones who have chosen the perilous freedom of the open desert over the safe confinement of the city walls. They have chosen the burning fire of love over the cold comfort of the ego, and in that choice, they find a strength that the world cannot understand and cannot defeat. As the journey progresses, the traveler in the caravan learns a new kind of perception. The world is no longer a collection of separate objects, but a unified field of meaning. Everything becomes a sign, a symbol, pointing back to the one reality. This is the art of tawaiwil, or symbolic interpretation, which is central to the Sufi worldview. The outer world becomes a mirror of the inner world. A storm in the desert reflects a turmoil in the soul. A clear spring represents a moment of spiritual clarity. Rumi is the ultimate master of this symbolic language. His poetry is a vast encyclopedia of metaphors that serve as keys to unlock the mysteries of the inner life. We have spoken of the wine, the tavern, the beloved. But the symbols are endless. The rose represents the beloved's beautiful face, while the thorn represents the hardships one must endure to reach it. The nightingale is the soul of the lover, singing its song of longing for the rose. The ocean is the infinite, undifferentiated divine reality, while the foam on the waves represents the transient forms of the material world. The sun is the divine light, the source of all life and knowledge, which both illuminates and blinds. Shams of Tabriz, Rumi's own spiritual son, embodied this. The moon is the reflected light of the sun, representing the spiritual master who reflects the light of the beloved to the disciple. The mirror is the polished heart of the mystic, which, when cleansed of the dust of the ego, can perfectly reflect the face of the beloved. Even the game of chess becomes a metaphor for the spiritual path, with the seeker as a pawn moving across the board of life, surrendering to the will of the great player, hoping to eventually be queened to be united with the beloved. Learning this language is like learning to read the secret script of the universe. It allows the seeker to find meaning in everything, to see the hand of the beloved at work in every circumstance. Nothing is random, nothing is meaningless. Every event, whether joyful or painful, is a part of the lesson. The world becomes a sacred text, and our life is the process of learning to read it. The traveler in the caravan becomes a poet, not necessarily by writing verses, but by living a poetic life. A life that sees the deep symbolic resonance in all things. A life that is in constant, intimate dialogue with the mystery. The air in the caravan is thick with stories. They are told around the campfire at night, whispered from one traveler to another during the long day's march. Rumi's great teaching epic, the Masnavi, is a testament to the power of story. It is a vast, sprawling collection of fables, anecdotes, jokes, and Quranic tales, all woven together to illustrate the subtle points of the spiritual path. Rumi understood that the heart learns best not through dry, abstract lectures, but through narrative. A story can bypass the defenses of the intellect and plant a seed of truth directly in the soil of the soul. One of his most famous stories is that of the elephant in the dark room. A group of people who have never seen an elephant are brought into a dark room where one is kept. Each person touches a different part of the animal. The one who touches the leg says, "An elephant is like a pillar." The one who touches the ear says, "It is like a fan." The one who touches the trunk says, "It is like a pipe." They all begin to argue, each one convinced that their partial experience represents the whole truth. The elephant, Rumi explains, is the divine reality. We, in our spiritual darkness, can only grasp a small part of it. The leg is a pillar, but the elephant is not a pillar. Each of us holds a piece of the truth, but we mistake it for the whole truth. This is the cause of all religious and philosophical conflict. The only way to see the whole elephant is to bring a candle into the room. The candle is the light of spiritual insight, the light of divine love. Only with that light can we see how all the partial truths fit together into a magnificent whole. This story teaches us humility. It reminds us that our own understanding is limited. It encourages us to respect the partial truths of others, knowing that they too are touching a part of the same great reality. Another powerful story is that of the lover who knocks on the beloved's door. The beloved asks from within, "Who is it?" The lover replies, "It is I." The beloved says, "This house is not big enough for you and me. Go away." The beloved says, "Now you may enter." This simple story contains the entire essence of the mystical path. The goal is the annihilation of the I, the false self, so that only the you of the beloved remains. These stories are the provisions for the journey. They are the food for the soul that sustains the travelers in the caravan through the long and often arduous desert crossing. They are mirrors in which we can see our own struggles and our own potential, and they are maps that show us the way forward. A strange music permeates the caravan. It is the sound of drums, of flutes, of voices raised in song. But it is also the sound of laughter and of weeping. It is the music of the heart in all its states. For Rumi, music and dance are not mere entertainment. They are powerful spiritual practices, direct paths to the experience of the divine. He himself is famous for originating the sema, the turning or whirling dance of the dervishes. The story goes that after the disappearance of his beloved Shams, Rumi was walking through the marketplace and heard the rhythmic hammering of the goldsmiths. In that simple, percussive beat, he heard the name of the beloved being repeated, and he was thrown into a state of ecstatic trance and began to turn. The sema is a physical enactment of a profound cosmic truth. The dervish, with one hand pointing up to receive the grace of heaven and the other pointing down to bestow it upon the earth, becomes a conduit between the divine and the material worlds. As they turn on their own axis, they are mirroring the orbit of the planets around the sun. But more importantly, they are circling the still point of the divine presence within their own heart. The dance is a form of active meditation. The goal is to lose the self in the rhythm, in the movement, to become so dizzy with love that the ego dissolves and only the dance remains. It is a physical prayer, a way of expressing a longing that is too deep for words. The poetry itself is a form of music. The original Persian has a powerful, incantatory rhythm. It is meant to be chanted, to be sung, to be experienced in the body. The poems are not just ideas. They are vibrations. They are designed to alter the state of consciousness of the listener, to bypass the critical mind and resonate directly with the soul. The caravan traveler learns to listen to the music of existence, the rustling of leaves, the flowing of water, the beating of their own heart. All of these are part of the divine symphony. They learn that joy and sorrow are not opposites, but are two notes in the same beautiful, melancholy chord. The weeping of the reed flute for its lost home is a sad sound, but it is also a beautiful one. The laughter that comes from a heart overflowing with love is a joyful sound, but it can also bring tears. The path of love embraces all of it. It is a dance that is danced with the whole of one's being, a song that is sung with the whole of one's heart. It is the music that leads the caravan, the rhythm that keeps it moving forward, the melody that promises a final, harmonious resolution. The journey with the caravan eventually leads the traveler to the edge of an abyss. This is the chasm that separates the known from the unknown, the mind from the mystery. This is the place of the final surrender. And the key to crossing this abyss is a single, powerful, and often misunderstood word: love. Ishq. In the Rumi's tradition, ishq is not the sentimental, romantic emotion we often associate with the word love. It is a cosmic force. It is the fundamental energy of the universe. It is the fire that burns away the self, the ocean that dissolves the drop, the sun that incinerates the moth. It is a love that is both terrifying and blissful, a love that destroys and creates in the same breath. To choose the path of ishq is to choose a path of radical annihilation. It is to say, I am willing to cease to exist as a separate self so that the beloved may exist fully. This is the highest and most difficult station of the journey. It requires a trust that is absolute. It is the lover at the door, finally understanding that there is no I. It is the ultimate letting go. This love is not something we do. It is something we fall into. It is a state of being possessed, of being overtaken by a power that is infinitely greater than ourselves. The lover on the path of Ishq no longer has a personal will. Their will has become aligned with the will of the beloved. Their desires are the beloved's desires. Their actions are the beloved's actions. They have become an empty vessel, a hollow reed through which the divine can play its music. This love is inherently creative. When the self is out of the way, the creative energy of the universe can flow through unimpeded. This is the source of Rumi's poetic genius. He was not a man writing poems about love. He was love itself, writing poems through the vessel of a man named Rumi. This is why the poetry is so powerful, so alive. It comes from the source. The experience of Ishq transcends all religious forms. It is the esoteric heart of all true spirituality. The Muslim mystic, the Christian saint, the Hindu bhakta, the Buddhist bodhisattva, they are all swimming in the same ocean of love, even if they call it by different names. Rumi's genius was to articulate this universal truth in a language that could be understood by all. He built a tavern where lovers from all traditions could come and drink the same wine. The caravan traveler, standing at the edge of the abyss, must make a choice: to cling to the familiar shore of the self or to leap into the boundless ocean of Ishq. The entire journey has been a preparation for this single moment, and when the leap is made, the traveler discovers that they have not fallen, but have been caught in an eternal embrace. They have not died, but have been born into true life. Having taken the final leap into the ocean of love, the traveler discovers the secret of what Rumi calls the religion of love. This religion is not a set of beliefs or rituals. It is a state of being. The religion of love is separate from all other faiths, Rumi declares. The lover's creed and faith is God alone. This does not mean a rejection of other religions. Rumi himself was a devout Muslim scholar. It means that the lover has gone beyond the outer forms of religion to the inner essence. They have found the beating heart that gives life to all traditions. This heart is love. The traveler who lives in the religion of love sees the world through the eyes of unity. They no longer categorize people by their creed, their race, their nation. They see only fellow souls, fellow particles of the divine, fellow lovers on the same journey. The walls of separation, which the ego and the world work so hard to build, have dissolved. This leads to a profound sense of compassion. How can you harm another when you know they are not other? How can you judge another when you know their struggles are your struggles? The traveler embodies the wisdom of the story of the elephant in the dark room. They see the value in all the different paths, knowing they are all attempts to describe the same indescribable reality. They can worship in a mosque, a church, a synagogue, or a forest because they know that the beloved is everywhere. Their worship is no longer confined to specific times or places. Their entire life becomes an act of worship. Every interaction is an opportunity to practice love, to be kind, to serve. They understand that the highest form of prayer is not to ask for things, but to be in a state of gratitude. Gratitude for the beauty of the world, for the gift of life, for the very existence of the beloved. This is a quiet, unassuming path. The true lover does not advertise their piety. They do not wear a special uniform or seek a special status. They move through the world with humility and grace, their inner state radiating a quiet peace that can be felt by those around them. They have become a walking, talking embodiment of the caravan's final destination, the field beyond all ideas of right and wrong, a field of pure, unconditional, all-embracing love. They have become the message. The journey of the caravan, like the poetry of Rumi, is not a linear progression with a final static endpoint. It is a spiral, a dance. The traveler, having reached the center, the point of union, now begins to spiral outwards again, bringing the wisdom of the center into every corner of their life. The journey is eternal. The caravan never truly stops because the exploration of the beloved's infinite nature is an endless joy. The traveler has learned that the destination was never a place, but a way of traveling. They have learned to travel with an open heart, with surrender, with love. And this way of traveling can be applied to every moment of life. The challenges of the world do not disappear. There is still pain, loss, and injustice. But the traveler now has a different relationship to these things. They are no longer seen as threats to their peace, but as opportunities to practice love more deeply. A difficult person becomes a teacher of patience. A moment of loss becomes a lesson in detachment. An act of injustice becomes a call to compassionate action. The traveler becomes a warrior of the heart, fighting not with swords, but with the weapons of kindness, forgiveness, and understanding. They are engaged in what the Sufis call the greater jihad, the inner struggle against the darkness of the ego, not an outer struggle against an external enemy. Rumi's life itself is the model for this. He experienced profound loss, the disappearance of his spiritual soulmate. But he did not let this grief destroy him. He transformed it into one of the world's greatest monuments to love, the Divan of Shams of Tabriz. He turned his personal wound into a universal medicine. This is the final task of the traveler in the caravan, to become an alchemist of the soul, to learn how to transform the lead of their own suffering into the gold of wisdom and compassion, and to share that gold freely with the world. They become a source of nourishment for other travelers, a living story that encourages others to begin their own journey. They are a signpost in the desert, a cup of water for the thirsty, a quiet confirmation that the caravan is real, that the journey is possible, and that the beloved is waiting with infinite patience for every single one of us to come home. The ultimate teaching of the caravan is one of integration. It is the sacred marriage of heaven and earth, of the spiritual and the material, of the infinite and the finite. The journey is not about escaping the world, but about infusing the world with the sacred. It is about realizing that our human body, with all its limitations and desires, is not a prison for the soul, but a temple. It is the very instrument through which the divine can experience its own creation. This is a profoundly embodied spirituality. It is found in the dance of the dervish, in the breath of the flute player, in the rhythm of the poet's verse. It is a spirituality that celebrates the senses, that finds God in the taste of bread, the scent of a rose, the touch of a lover's hand. The false dichotomy between the body and the spirit is healed. They are seen as two wings of the same bird. You need both to fly. The traveler who has completed the spiral journey and returned to the world does not look or act in a way that is obviously spiritual. They are not floating a few inches off the ground. They are deeply, wonderfully human. They laugh, they weep, they work, they play. But they do all of these things from a different center. They are anchored in the deep, quiet peace of their own divine nature. They have learned to be in the world without being consumed by it. They can engage with the drama of life without losing their connection to the still, silent witness within. This is the art of spiritual maturity. It is the ability to hold the paradox, to be both the wave and the ocean at the same time. This is why Rumi's message is so powerful and so enduring. It is not a life-denying philosophy that asks us to reject our humanity. It is a life-affirming vision that asks us to embrace our humanity so fully, so courageously, so lovingly, that it becomes a doorway to the divine. The caravan has taught us that the goal is not to become angels. The goal is to become fully, gloriously, divinely human. It is to realize that this very life, this very body, this very moment is the sacred place we have been seeking all along. The journey ends where it began, but everything has changed because we have changed. The exile is over. We are home. And so, we stand at what seems like the end of our story, but is really just the threshold of a new beginning. We have followed the caravan's trail across the desert of the self, through the fire of transformation and into the garden of the heart. We have listened to the poetry that is not ink on a page, but a living voice, a friend who has taken our hand and guided us through the darkest nights of the soul. What is the final secret that this journey reveals? It is breathtakingly simple. It is that we are loved. Not because we are good, not because we are worthy, not because we have earned it, We are loved because we exist. Our existence is a testament to the Beloved's love. We are woven from the very fabric of that love. This is the truth that lies beneath all the stories, all the symbols, all the poetry. It is the ultimate answer to the soul's deepest question. This love is not a gentle, passive thing. It is a wild, creative, dynamic force. It is the energy that spins the galaxies and opens the buds of the spring flowers. And it is the same energy that is calling to us, pulling us, urging us to wake up from the dream of separation and to remember who we truly are. The caravan is a metaphor for this irresistible pull, this cosmic tide of love that is always, always flowing homeward. Our only choice is whether to fight against the current or to surrender and let it carry us. Rumi's legacy is not a philosophy to be studied, but an experience to be lived. He did not leave behind a system, but a song that is still being sung in the hearts of those who are thirsty for something real. He lit a candle 7 centuries ago, and its flame has not been extinguished. It has been passed from hand to hand, from heart to heart, across cultures and continents. And its light shines now, in our own time, which is so full of noise and confusion and fear, as a beacon of hope, a reminder of a different way to be. It reminds us that the greatest adventure is the inner adventure. It reminds us that the only true wealth is the love we find in our own hearts. And it reminds us that the caravan of love is always departing, its doors always open, waiting for anyone, anywhere, who has the courage to answer the call, to take the first step, and to begin the beautiful, terrifying, and ultimately joyful journey home. The final echo of the caravan's journey settles not in the mind, but in the breath. It is a quietening, a settling. The grand and epic landscapes of the soul's journey resolve into the simple, sacred geography of the present moment. Having traversed the symbolic deserts and oceans, the traveler finds that the entire universe is contained within a single conscious breath. This is the ultimate portability of Rumi's wisdom. It does not require a temple or a special ritual. The temple is the body. The ritual is the breath. To breathe in is to receive the grace of the beloved. To breathe out is to offer gratitude and love back to the world. This simple rhythmic exchange becomes the central practice, the perpetual dance that keeps the traveler attuned to the music of the divine. The past, with its regrets and its stories, has been burned away in the fire. The future, with its anxieties and its hopes, has been surrendered. All that remains is the vibrant, luminous, and infinitely deep reality of the now. And in this now, the beloved is always present. There is no separation. There is no seeking. There is only being. The traveler learns to listen to the silence that underlies all sound. This is not an empty silence. It is a full and pregnant silence, the silent source from which all of creation emerges. Rumi called this the silent speaker. To hear it is to understand everything without a single word being spoken. The need for answers, for explanations, for a conceptual understanding of the mystery dissolves. In its place comes a quiet, trusting, and joyful participation in the mystery itself. Life is no longer a problem to be solved, but a poem to be lived. The traveler becomes a poem, a unique and unrepeatable expression of the divine artistry. They move through the world not with a heavy sense of purpose, but with a light and playful spirit. They have become the sincere drunkard of Hafiz's poetry, intoxicated with the beauty of the ordinary, laughing with a secret joy that the sober and serious world cannot comprehend. This is the final gift of the caravan, not an escape from life, but a deeper, more intimate, and more loving engagement with it. It is the discovery that paradise is not a distant place to be reached after death, but a state of consciousness that is available right here, right now, to anyone who has the eyes to see and the heart to receive it. The journey is complete. The traveler is home, and home is everywhere. Generated code.